In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at a shortcut for cross multiplying, which is a strategy for solving a proportion. So let's first of all talk about what a proportion is. If you have two equivalent fractions like 2/5 and 6/15, they are called equivalent fractions because if we take the 2/5 and I multiply by 3 here, it could be any other number, just has to be the same number top and bottom. So I multiply by 3, 2 times 3 is 6, 5 times 3 is 15. So that's why these 2/5 and 6/15 are called equivalent fractions. So if you set two equivalent fractions equal to one another, like 2/5 equals 6/15, that's called a proportion. And solving proportions where one of these, the 2, the 5, the 6, the 15, where one of these is a variable, is very frequently done with similar triangles, trying to find some unknown side. In right angle trigonometry, also in other trigonometry, the sine law. So it's worth learning a shortcut because it makes the solving part probably close to about half of if you do as opposed to the normal cross multiplying. So that's why I'm doing this tutorial. Now, something I'd like you to notice, in this proportion here, the products of the diagonals are always equal. So what do I mean by diagonals? Well, this is one diagonal from the top of one fraction to the bottom of another. So 2 and 15, those are numbers on a diagonal. The product of 2 and 15 is 30. Now the other diagonal would be the 5 and the 6. Notice that 5 and 6 also multiply to 30. And in equivalent fractions set equal to one another, a proportion, the products of the diagonals are always equal to one another. And that's the concept, that's the basic idea behind the strategy called cross multiplying. So, and of course, here's the name for the term. Okay, those two arrows make kind of a cross, so that's why it's called cross multiplying. But that's not the shortcut. So here comes the shortcut. Notice that any one of these numbers, the 2, the 5, the 6, or the 15, I'm going to start with the 2 here. 2 is equal to the product of 5 and 6 divided by 15. See, that would be 30 divided by 15 gives you 2. Well, where do I get these numbers from? Okay, so it says, notice that any of these four numbers is equal to the product of the other diagonals. Okay, so here's my 2. See, the 5 and 6 is the other diagonal. The 2 is not on that diagonal. Divided by the number diagonally across from the number chosen. So C2 is the product of 5 and 6 divided by 15. That's what I did here. Now let's do the 5 instead. See, the 5 here would be equal to the product of the 2 and 15, so 2 times 15, and across from the 5 is the 6, diagonally across. So that's why I'm dividing the 2 times 15 divided by 6. So that's 30 divided by 6 gives you 5. Let's do the next one. I'm going to do the 6 next. See, the 6 would be the product of 2 and 15 divided by 5. Okay, the other diagonal divided by the number across from that 6. So 6 is 2 times 15 divided by 5, so that's 30 divided by 5 gives you 6. And finally, the only number left to do is the 15. See, it would be the product of the 5 and the 6, that's the other diagonal, divided by the number across from the 15, which is the 2. So 15 is 5 times 6 divided by 2. See, again, so that's 30 divided by 2 gives you 15. So that's the shortcut, and we're going to take a look at 3 examples on the next page of some normal cross multiplying and then how the shortcut makes that a little bit quicker. So example 1 here. So this is a normal proportion. Okay, there's a variable in one of the 4 spots, 1, 2, 3, so there's the 4 places. So the normal cross multiplying looks like this. I multiply the x and the 32, so we'll call that 32x, 32 times x, and equals the product of the 4 and the 24. And it's normal at this point to multiply the 4 and 24. See, that would be 96, but I'm not going to bother do that. Now I'm trying to isolate for x, whether you're doing the normal cross multiplying or the shortcut. So the next thing I would do is I would isolate the x by dividing out the 32. So that those divide out. See, 32 divided by 32 is 1. That's why I have x equals, the x would be alone on the left now, equals 4 times 24 over 32. So that's normal cross multiplying. Okay, that's what it looks like. But you see, the shortcut says that my x here, so here's the shortcut, my x here is the product of 4 and 24 divided by 32, because 32 is what is diagonally across from the x. And so 4 times 24, that's the 96, and if I divide 96 by 32, I get 3. So in the cross-multiplying shortcut, we will go directly to here and not worry about either of these two lines. So x is the product of 4 and 24 divided by 32. Evaluate it, get x. Okay, x is 3. So, and it doesn't matter, the x doesn't have to be in that top left spot. In the second example, I put it in the denominator under this 5. So my cross-multiplying shortcut would look like this. X is the product equals the product of 5 and 16 divided by 24, because 24 is across from the x. And so in my and of course we could just take our calculator and go 5 times 16 divided by 24 and get x is about 3.3. If you want to show the work, 5 times 16 is 80, and 80 divided by 24 is the 3.3. Well, that's fine. That doesn't matter. Last one here, example 3. Notice again, it doesn't matter where the unknown is. I put it in the bottom and the right side this time. So y would be the product of 9 and 17 divided by this 5. So if we multiply 9 and 17, 9 times 17 divided by 5, we get 30.6. So y is equal to 30.6. So that's a shortcut for the cross-multiplying technique to solve a proportion. And that's the end of the tutorial.